of Oz.
It's right in our own hometown.
With Judy Garland and the backdrop of one of the biggest and best-known fairs the world had ever seen, producer Freed figured he'd have another winner on his hands. Freed's daughter, Barbara, who also worked at MGM, remembers how much her father wanted Judy for the movie.
He was a great admirer of Judy's from the time that she first came on the lot. He did Babes in Arms, it was his first movie with Mickey and Judy. He did Babes on Broadway. He did Strike Up the Band with her. She was the person he wanted to work with. From the very beginning, the first things that she did, he was a tremendous admirer of hers. He always thought, to the time she died, that she was like the greatest talent in Hollywood, and I think he was probably right.
But Freed had a little trouble convincing Judy to take part in the movie. Too juvenile. She was now 21 and already separated from her first husband, David Rose. At this point in her career, she'd played several adult roles and didn't want to go back to playing a teenager.
She didn't want to do it in the beginning. She was advised not to do it by other people, but my father convinced her, and I think it was one of the better things that she did.
Lucille Bremer, who played Esther's older sister Rose, recalls working with Judy.
She was lovely, except the first day on the set. We had a scene together, and she couldn't do it. She said, "I can't do it. I'm not an actress," which of course was ridiculous. And she just wouldn't perform until several people talked to her, and then I guess she did come on the set. When she did perform, of course, she was always brilliant, so nobody minded these little...
Dancer at the studio says Minnelli expressed his feelings for Judy in another way.
One time we were working with Judy, and she came and showed us her engagement ring. And of course, we were all shocked at this ring because it was black onyx. Well, how could anybody take a ring that was black? And I remember after she showed it to us, and she was so happy and so bubbly, we all went off and like this, how could she take a ring like that, you know? And it was almost like a friendship and an enjoyment of conversation and enjoying each other's company and time spent together. And we watched it grow, but it was so slow, as I said, it didn't hit us for a while. Mr. Minnelli was the kind, understanding, patient person that Judy needed.
Within a year of the release of Meet Me in St. Louis, Judy Garland and Vincent Minnelli were married. A year after the wedding, their daughter, Liza, was born.
I think he showed her such respect that she couldn't resist it.
Until the final cut, there'd even been a Rodgers and Hammerstein number called Boys and Girls Like You and Me. Esther sings the song to John Truitt in a scene that was supposed to follow the trolley ride.
But I was a little worried about that Rodgers and Hammerstein song that they bought because we didn't want to be in the shadow of Rodgers and Hammerstein, even though the song was absolutely beautiful. And when I sent my little demo tapes to my mother, which had all of our songs on it, plus the Rodgers and Hammerstein song, Boys and Girls Like You. So I got a letter back, and the letter said, "Dear Hugh, it's a lovely score. Thank you so much for sending it to me. I love the songs, especially Boys and Girls Like You. You have finally written a great song."
But Hugh Martin needn't have worried. The filmmakers decided the movie was too long, and the scene ended up on the cutting room floor after a preview.
And this was one time that Judy stayed on the set and sat with 3 or 4 of us talking, and we were talking about Margaret and her age and what she was doing. And Judy was quiet for a minute, and then she looked up and she said, "You know, that little girl is not having any life." And she said, "And I've been there and I know what I'm talking about."
Well, I think that Judy had a hard time growing up at the studio, but it was at a different time than when I came in. When I came in, all the child labor laws were very much enforced. There was a school teacher with you all the time. The studio could only work you so many hours. They couldn't do what they did to Judy, which was work her all night and give the pills to stay awake and then fall asleep.
Well,
And Nellie kept saying, now, get scared, much more scared, Margaret. But it was really hard to be scared of that gentleman in the Victorian house at the end of the street because he was really very nice. And the bulldog that was so ferocious was really sweet. And I would pet him and we were friends.
What's the matter, Judy? Did the bulldog try to bite you? Did Mr. Broadcup chase you? Judy, can't you talk? Right down, neighbor!
Well, the way I learned my lines, because of course I couldn't read at the time of Meet Me in St. Louis, my mother would tell me the line, and I had a photographic memory, so she could pretty well read the whole script to me, and then I knew it.
Her aunt and her mother used to prepare her for these scenes. I never could find out what they said, you know, but they would talk very earnestly to her, and then she would listen with her eyes out on sticks, and then she would go in and cry and get hysterical and so forth and do the scene.
Wingland Street set, which had been used for the Andy Hardy films. Still, Minnelli and Freed insisted on starting from scratch. They spent more than $200,000 having the studio carpenters build an entire street on backlot number 3 in Culver City.
So it was of an earlier period of American Gothic architecture and so on. So I spent a great deal of time on research and finding the right things for it, you know.
Minnelli, who'd started out as a set designer on Broadway, turned to Sally Benson, who described every corner of her childhood home for him.
And Vincent Minnelli was very particular about everything being authentic. And he really did, although you had a set decorator, he really did most of it and supervised.
No detail was overlooked, from the gas lights Esther and Tom turned down to the step block the family uses to step in and out of the carriage. For the costumes, designer Irene Sharaff and her seamstresses turned to, among the studio's vast resources, the Sears Roebuck catalog from 1904. All this attention wasn't just for historical accuracy.
Now take a deep breath.
This would be the first feature Minnelli would film in Technicolor. He and his gifted director of photography, George Folsey, a tune Hugh Martin almost shelved.
This is the song that almost got thrown away because I got this far and I didn't know where to go from there. So I gave it up, put it in my notebook, closed it, pushed it aside, forgot about it. 2 days later, Ralph, who was on the other side of the wall working, came in and said, "You were playing something so pretty about 2 days ago. What happened to it?" So I went back and found the old notebook and opened it up and started work again. Got a little farther.
Once he'd gotten the melody down, Martin was gently informed he needed to work on the words. It's hard to imagine the storm of tears that might have followed had Tootie heard Hugh Martin's original lyrics.
They talked about leaving St. Louis for New York and how sad they were. And it was very, very mournful. Judy Garland listened to it and she said, "I love the melody, but that lyric, if I sing that to little Margaret O'Brien, people will think I'm a monster." I'll sing it for you. You'll die. It's so awful. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. It may be your last. Next year we may all be living in the past. Fit the script all right, but oh, you know, it was not right.
until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow. So have your
You know, this movie was done during the middle of the war. The lyric of that applied to the men who were overseas. Of course, now it's played as a Christmas song, but then it was a Christmas song, I think, that applied to the war.
MGM tried to use the song again as a Frank Sinatra solo in Take Me Out to the Ball Game, but it too wound up on the cutting room floor. MGM UA Home Video is proud to present Judy Garland's original pre-recording of Boys and Girls Like You and Me. Since the film footage of this sequence no longer exists, we have collected a special portfolio of rare photographs from the film of Judy Garland and Tom Drake.
We walk on every city street. We walk in lanes where branches meet, and stars send down their blessings from the blue. We go through storms of doubt and fear, and so we walk from year to year, believing in each other as we do. Bravely marching forward two by two. Boys and girls like you and me walk beneath the skies. They love just as we love, with the same dream in their eyes. Songs and kings and many things have their day and are gone, but boys and girls like you and me, we go on and When I saw him, I fell.
Meet Me in St. Louis is the tender, romantic story of the most popular young beauty of the early 1900s, of her crush on the boy next door, of her lovable, yet at times humorous family.
If you like me like I like you, and we like both the same, I like to say this very day, I'd like to change your maiden name. We will dance the hoochie coochie. You will be my tootsie whoopsie if you will meet me in St. Louis, Louis. Meet me at the